Good morning. We are going to learn about French knots today. Let me grab some scissors though. Hold on. Hi, Whitney. Okay, so let's learn about French knots first. I'm just gonna get out a second little mini hoop just to show you French knots, and then we will use them while we're stitching today. Okay. Just gonna get this tightened real fast. All right, so I had to move from my desk again and I don't like it. I don't have my stuff. I gotta go back to my desk. Hold on. Okay, French knots. French knots, depending on the size that you want, you can do two different things. You can change the number of times you wrap around your needle and the number of strands that you're using to stitch it. So we're just gonna do 3 strands or 6 strands, and then we're gonna wrap it 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, just so you can kind of see the difference. And then I'll show you how to do colonial knots down here. So let's get some thread out here. All right, so I'm just gonna 3 strands out. French knots don't have to be difficult, especially with the way that we're using them today. If they get a little messy, we're not going to get worried about it. Okay, so for French knots, once you have a knot at the end of your thread, what we're going to do is come up from the back. Ooh. Is tight fabric. Okay. For a French knot, we're gonna hold our thread with our whatever hand is your not dominant hand. Okay. We're gonna wrap it around our needle like this, and then we're gonna put our needle back down into our fabric. We're not gonna go into the same hole. We're gonna go right next to it. Make sure you don't grab that knot that's underneath. We're coming to the side of it, or else it's gonna be hard to pull that through. So we're gonna go down. We're gonna hold that knot down at the bottom of our needle, and we're gonna keep the tension on the side. And then we're gonna push our needle through. And then once we get about here, you can let go, and there's your knot. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it. I never, unless I'm using a hoop stand, mine is always on the table or on my lap or whatever when I'm doing this. So we wrap it around 1 time, put it down, slide your knot to the bottom, and then I pick it up and I hold that Now, if it's really hard to push through your fabric, you've twisted it too tight around your needle. It's okay if it's just, I mean, it's gotta be loose enough that your needle can get through there. And then we'll pull that. One more time. Wrap it around once, put our needle down, move our knot to the bottom, pick up our hoop, pull that through. Okay, so now we're gonna do wrap it around our needle 2 times. So we're gonna go 1, 2, and then go down, pull our knot to the bottom. Make sure you're holding on to that. And then pull our needle through. Once you start wrapping it like 2 and 3 times is when it starts to get a little too tight to pull your needle through. So just be conscious of that. 1, 2. And then pull that through. 1, 2. Okay, so now let's do 3. It's the same thing. You're just gonna wrap it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Put it back down, pull your knot to the bottom, and push your needle through. I'm just gonna do one more and then I'll do 6 strands just so you can see the difference in size. Okay, so you can kind of see the size difference. 1 wrap, 2 wrap, 3 wrap. They get slightly bigger as we go. There's them at an angle. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna double this over. Tie them together so we have 6 strands that we're working with. Wrap it one time. So it's done the same, but it is a difference in size. This is about the same size as this one. Slightly bigger, but about the same size as that one. And then once we get to 3, things start to get fun. Okay. So there's a big, chunky 3. There we go. So this is what I would use for like bushes and trees. They're just like big and fluffy. I also sometimes when I'm doing 3 wraps, especially if I'm doing like bushes and stuff, I wrap this really loosely. You see how loose that is? And then pull it through, and you've got like a big fluffy French knot. So both of these I've wrapped 3 times, but this one I didn't pull very tight. It's pretty loose. And look at that size difference. Fun, yes. That's really fun for like trees and bushes. We can practice some of that today while we're stitching our water. Okay, let me grab another color and we'll do colonial knots. Most people, if you don't like French knots, you'll like colonial knots. and vice versa. It seems like that's usually the norm. I prefer French knots just because I can do them more quickly, but you definitely don't have to do them if you don't like them. The thing I like about colonial knots is I can get them looking more uniformed. So if I'm doing something like, let's say, polka dots, that I want them to all look the same, then I'll do a colonial knot because I find it easier to get them to be more uniformed than I do French knots. Because even like all three of these look different. These ones look a little bit more uniform, but even these two look different. But with colonial knots, I feel like I have an easier time getting them to look the same. So we're gonna do this the same. I'm gonna do 3 strands and 6 strands. So with a colonial knot, what we do is we do a backwards C for colonial, except it's backwards, and then we come up this way, and then we wrap it around this way. So we've got like an infinity sign or a figure 8, and then we pull it snug and put it down and move our knot to the bottom, and then pull it through. And it takes some patience to get that because it's a lot of little steps. So let's do it again. So we've got our backwards C, and we're gonna come up this way, wrap it around. So we've got a figure 8 or infinity sign, pull that knot to the bottom, and then pull through. So the only size you can get the only way you can get different sized colonial knots is if you use a different amount of thread, because there's not a way to like wrap it more times to make them bigger like we did with the French knots. I'm gonna do one more and then I'll do 6. I'll pull that through. See, those are a lot more uniformed, I feel like. And they're a little bit more round too. I'm not tying these off. Okay, so now let's do 6 strands. So you can always do this with 1 strand, you can do it with 2, with 4, you can do it with 12. I mean, you can do whatever you want with colonial knots. To get bigger ones, you just have to have more thread, so. All right, so we're gonna do this again with 6 strands. Okay, so we're gonna go backwards C, wrap it around, and then go back down. Okay. There we go. We'll do one more. So we're gonna go backwards C, up through that, around the top, and then pull it snug. Now, once you get to this point, you can also just take your needle out and redo it. So if you get it down there and you're like, whoa, 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 that's not looking good, just take it out. Until your needle goes through the fabric, you're good. You can take it out. Once it's under the fabric, it's a lot harder. Okay, so there is our knots. Should we put them on our fabric? I think so. All right, let me get my needle out of here. And grab our project. So let's do the coconuts first, and then we'll move down and we're gonna work on our water, on our ocean beach water here. All right, let me put this pink away. So our coconuts are gonna be the 420. use 6 strands. And I'm going to triple wrap these. Let me just get my needle and my thread and my needle. Okay. So we're just gonna come up. I'm just gonna come up here. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna keep these a little bit loose. So as I pull it down, I'll kind of pull that a little tighter to where I want it. There we go. One, two, three. And one more right here. One, two, three. I gotta wrap that a little closer to the bottom. Okay, there we go. 3 coconuts. Okay, I'm gonna do these 3 up here real quick. And then we will move on to our water. This is really close to my hoop stand. 1, 2, 3. Now, because I've got 6 strands in my needle instead of 3 doubled over, it's a little harder to get it through that knot. So if you're having a hard time, because right now, the end of my needle has 12 strands trying to go through that knot. So if you're having a hard time, try sizing down. If you want to do 6 strands, put 3 in and double it over, because then you've only got 6 strands up here trying to go through your knot. Right now I've got 12. Does that make sense? So if you're struggling to get through, try that trick. Try like sizing down. One more. That is like so close to my hoop stand. It's And do you see how my thread is like twisting up on itself? This is a good time to like let your thread untwist, especially when you're doing French knots. If your thread starts to get really twisted like that, it makes it more difficult to do your French knots. So let that untwist and it will be easier. I'm not holding it, but I gotta pull that needle through. I needed both hands. Okay. There we go. Okay, cute little trees. You're done. All right, so let's move on. Let me tie this off really fast. Okay, fell out, hang on. Get this in here a little bit more securely before we move on. Okay, so today for the water, we are going to do my personal least favorite stitch. So we are gonna do a long and short stitch. It's good to learn stitches you don't like because sometimes they just have a place that you have to use them. So I'm just gonna do a small portion of this so that you can see how to do it, and then you'll have all weekend to finish. So I'm just gonna fill in this space here, and then you'll have all weekend to finish this. So if you wanna change the shape of your shoreline, you can. But we have kind of these two little sections that we're gonna work with. And let's start with our turquoise. So we've got our 38-48. One thing I've noticed with long and short stitch is the fewer strands you use, the better it looks, but the longer it takes. So you kind of have to weigh your options there of what you want to do. I'm going to use 3 strands, but if you want to use less, it will look a little bit more blended. If you want to use more, you totally can. It will just look a little bit chunkier, which is totally fine. So with long and short stitch, we're stitching some of our stitches long and some short, hence the name. So what we're gonna do is start on this side, and we're gonna make one of our stitches go long, like over this line, and then the next one, so it's almost like a satin stitch. These are gonna go right next to each other. The next one is gonna go short, so it doesn't hit the line, and then the next one is going to hit the line. Oh, that was not straight. They're a little too far apart. That's okay, we can fill that in later if we want to. So then we're just gonna keep with that pattern. We're gonna go long, short, and then right on the line. So then when we come back with our other blue, it will go in between these. I'm starting to not get straight lines. Oh, see, that one needs one in between. I'm going to finish what I'm doing, and then we will see where we need to fill in. The stitch does have its place. I just don't like spending the time to do it. But it's really nice when you're trying to like blend 2 colors. Like we are going to do. These are getting all kinds of crooked. I'm gonna stop here because I gotta redo these. Get these as straight as you can so that then these coming in are a little bit easier. This is one I have to like spend time and like sit and concentrate. Okay, so we're gonna come back in with our lighter blue and fill that in. So I'm gonna keep with 3 strands. Hang on, gotta thread my needle. Okay, so now we're gonna come up to the edge of our ocean line here, and we're gonna come into this same hole. And just fill that in. You can do this with like 3 colors so that you have like one that's in between these 2 colors. So it's not such a drastic change in colors, so that it's more of an ombre effect. But they need to be like pretty close together because look, you can see like all these gaps. I need to go back and do these closer together. Okay, or you could come back in here and just put in some extra stitches. So I'm gonna come here and I'm just gonna come down kind of in between those 2. And then if I come back in with some of the darker, I can just fill that in. So then it's filled in. I would first though, just do your connections and then decide what you want to do. And if these are straighter lines, it's a little easier. But I started getting a little crazy with these ones, started to fan out. Sorry, I'm just getting my dark color back out real quick so I can fill that in a little bit and you can see what it would look like. So if I were to fill it in down here, I'd come in between these, and then I just would slide my needle up through there and connect it. Same thing with down here. There's kind of that gap. So I can come up in there. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna tie off this darker and then we will finish this lighter color over to the edge, and then we will do some white French knots for like the wave breaking. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I also tie off my thread like this. I've tied it around, but it's not very tight, so I've just got 2 halves, and I'm just gonna tie another knot. Okay. Okay. Now we can go back to our blue. That's too far. I don't want to go that far. You can also, with this stitch, because they're at different lengths, you can come up as well instead of going all the way back up to the top. But then you're kind of stuck doing that the rest of the time because we're coming down right where we need to be going up. But if that feels easier, you can totally do that. And save a little thread. Just gonna do one more. See, I need to come back in and fill in some dark down there, but fun. I'm running out of thread though. Okay, and then we're gonna come back in with our white and do some French knots along this blue. So, of course, my white is at my desk. Hold on. So this is a great opportunity to practice different sized French knots, to use different amounts of thread. So I'm gonna use 3 strands right now, but you could use 2, you could use 1, you could use 6. I would actually say do that across the whole thing, like go all the way across your water and do like do 6 strands like this, and then come back and do 3 strands, and then come back and do like single strands. So then you have a little bit of everything across the whole thing. So then you can kind of practice and see what size French knots you like to use. But if these, oh, I forgot to tie it off. But this is a great way to practice French knots. These don't need to be perfect. They're all gonna kind of blend in. So we're not gonna worry about it. So we're just gonna come up in our blue here. Practice wrapping 1 time, practice wrapping 2 times, practice wrapping 3 times. Just all along that water. So that's what we're gonna do, just all the way across. Now, because we're splitting our thread, this may happen a little bit, these little gaps, but if you kind of just smooth that around your French knot, it'll kind of go away. Yeah? Okay. So I'm gonna leave you with this today. You could also, if you have like 1 or 2 strands, come in and do like a few, just like little tiny stitches like this. And create just like some little bits of white in this blue, if you wanted, with your French knots. Okay? So I'm gonna leave you with that today. You have all weekend to work on your water, and then we will start our other buildings next week. So enjoy your weekend. I'll be around, so if you have questions, let me know. And I will see you again on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye.